my name's Nita and welcome back to my video. This is episode 3 of my quilting series of a baby hexagon quilt. Today I'm going to be piecing my rows together and hopefully I can get it binded today and start the actual quilting process of it, but I'll show you where I'm at now. The quilt so far is turning out really good and I'm really impressed. The only thing I'm kind of nitpicking about is the 2 blue fabrics that I have. I honestly feel like I could have went with just one of the blue fabrics, maybe gone with a different color, because I feel like it's just too much blue for the quilt. But I will show you what I have so far. So far I have the quilt pieced in rows. Now I just need to take these rows and just piece them or sew them together. But this is what it looks like so far. And as you can see, I just don't like how these 2 fabrics kind of match up. And I tried my best to kind of do it scrappy as possible. But this is what I have so far. And honestly, it's not that big of a deal, but I think the quilt looks amazing so far. That's just one thing that I would have changed so far in this quilt, is just maybe not doing 2 blue fabrics. Maybe do 1 blue fabric in a different color. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with piecing these strips together, and then I'll show you how I bind my quilts. Okay, so now everything's all pieced together. The only thing I need to do now is press it, and then I'll show you guys how I bind my quilts. So this is how I'm going to base the quilt. I put my top quilt batting and my backing each on a piece of wood, and then I'm just going to roll out each piece, and then I'm going to spray it with adhesive and then pin them together. Okay, so I'm all done with the basting part of the quilt. The next thing that I'm going to do is quilt my quilt now. I'm going to use my walking foot for this next part. So basically I'm going to use my walking foot to stitch straight lines on both sides of every seam. So for example, I have this seam right here, so I'm going to stitch 1/4 of an inch this way and 1/4 of an inch. Then I'm also going to stitch a line going from this seam across this hexagon to the next seam. I'm going to do 1/4 of an inch on each side of the seams. Okay, so I'm going to turn my quilt sideways and I'm going to stitch all the way down the top of the quilt. So now that I just sewn down the edge of the top of my quilt, I'm going to go over to my first seam. And I'm going to use my walking foot to sew down 1/4 inch away from this seam on both sides. So I'm going to go down this side first, and then I'm going to go down the left side next. So as you can see, I sewn 1/4 inch away from the seam. Now I'm going to do that on the opposite side. Okay, so it's been a few days since I've last quilted, but this is what I have so far. I've quilted on all the seams that are going vertically. Now I'm going to quilt my next step. I'm going to start in this right corner to sew a straight line that would be 1/4 inch of this seam, so on both sides. So when I quilt, I'm going to kind of shift my needle over about 1/4 inch from this corner and sew all the way up to this seam, and do that same concept going through this half hexagon to that corner. And then I'm going to continue doing that on each corner of my quilt. I'm going to do the same thing, 1/4 inch from this little corner right here. Okay, so I'm all done with the quilting part. The only thing I have now to do is I need to trim off the edges of the quilt. I need to square up the quilt basically and get rid of this pointy part of the quilt, and I'm going to trim it down to where these edges meet right here. Okay, so here is the final product. I have the gold chevrons for the backing and this adorable hexagon top quilt. And then for the binding, I just did the gold arrows. And Jackson's just hanging out with us. Hi, Jax. Hi, baby. You ready to start our next quilt? Are you ready? What are you doing? Are you a big boy? Are you hanging out with Mom in her quilting room? What? Are you hanging out with your mom in her quilting room? Are you having fun? Oh goodness, I just love you so much, my sweet baby. You good boy. Oh gosh. Alright, well, I'm all done with that quilt and I'm ready to start my next quilt. I just want to say thank you guys for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like. And if you'd like to see more of these type of videos, make sure to subscribe to my channel. Alright, I'll see you guys next time. Bye!